Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Southern Gateway Chorus live stream. You might notice there's not a black background behind me, and I sound different. It's because I'm somewhere else. We'll talk about that later. Before we get anywhere further, my name is Zach Coleman, and who the heck's over there, Joe?
Well, besides me, you mean?
Yeah, besides you.
Well, next to
Literally.
me, looking smaller because he's sitting back a little bit, is Mark Kettner. You might know him. You love him. He's been on the show before. Category specialist and a friend, and trying to get away for a little time this weekend and play a little golf. So he's here and just happens to have shown up, and why not? And he's kind of stuck while we're doing the stream anyway. So he's here.
Sure. Yeah, and I the more the merrier. I've always been. I think that maybe that's a Coleman thing or a Lally thing. I don't know, but
Yeah.
that's just my family thing. The more the merrier. You're here, all right. Let's hang out.
Well, with your family, it just seems to be the more, the more, the more.
Sure, that's what you get from a Catholic family.
It's a Catholic family, but I mean, you just keep from a barbershop standpoint.
Oh
You just
God, yeah,
keep extending the tentacles out.
yeah. We adopt everybody. It happens. So, what we may notice right now, Joe, I'm gonna tell you what I'm thinking about first, real quick.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, the main thing right now is this is gonna be the new studio for me, at least for a little bit, possibly for a longer time. We're not really sure right now. There's there's not a desk yet, so I'm definitely not using two different little bookshelves to hold up all my stuff. And I'm gonna soundproof it. It's gonna be fun, man. I'm excited about it. I'm gonna do all my recording stuff, and it's gonna be great.
Yeah. Well, it's always going to be awesome. Right? That's the way these things work. So that's
Right,
kind of cool.
right. Joe, what's on your mind, man?
Well, okay. So I'm gonna. This is the old guy. This is
Okay.
an old guy kind of on my mind. Legacy. Thinking about legacy.
Okay.
I was talking with George Gipp yesterday, and he was talking about the Cincinnati Kids, who we've talked quite a bit about over a period of time. And George was kind of like lamenting that what happens when all of us old guys have kind of faded into the woodwork. Will people remember what an impactful quartet they were? And the same thing is true for some of my quartets because I've been at this for many years also. And I don't, I've always kind of felt like, legacy is something that shows up in the new generation in terms of what the products are, you know. But I can see where George is coming from too. You'd like to be remembered fondly for what he does. And I said, well, George, I said the people, particularly the guys in Gateway,
Ooh, we may have.
are
Oh, there you
very,
go.
very much fondly remember the Cincinnati Kid. Oh, very much remember the Cincinnati Kids.
Mhm.
But I think he was looking at it from the standpoint of not making the cut into the top 25 of legacy quartets
Interesting.
when they had the legacy contest. And so,
Yeah, yeah.
he was just kind of going, "Oh my gosh, will they ever remember?" I said, "George, you were great. Don't worry about
Joe, can you do me a favor and just contrast me a little bit more? Here I
it."
am, like, yes, I'm thinking about the room where I am right now. And you're just like,
Yeah.
I wonder if the legacy. I'm just like, geez, dude.
Well, I just wanted to provide counterbalance. Isn't it all about variety at the end of the day?
I guess so. And real quick, we have a third guy. Mark, what you thinking about, bud?
Well, I'm thinking about having a nice, relaxing weekend here away from work and maybe ruminating about some great barbershop stuff with Joe this weekend. So,
Sure, sure.
it's
But how
gonna be
relaxing is
great.
it with Joe? That's my question. I've only ever
Well,
spent a couple hours with him, so I don't know.
he keeps me on my toes for sure. So,
Well, listen, it's not like being with Joe Connolly.
Sure. Okay.
You know,
that you are correct there.
because
You are
by the
correct
end of
there.
that
Yes,
time
yes,
you're totally wired. But as you know, with stories I'm loaded.
Sure.
So it's like I could sit there forever and just keep telling. And back in the day, me and Steve
Well,
and little Pete and little Joe. And,
Yeah, yeah.
I think I'm just most excited to just see one of my barbershop friends
In person.
in person outside of my hometown. So that's
Right.
great.
And
Yeah,
tomorrow
man.
he'd be excited to see his golf ball a couple of times, or to see it go down into the water. There's 14 of the holes here have water.
Most likely you'll see a lot of them. I would assume that they're going to go that way and then that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Well,
Oh, I used to be a caddy, so that was the other thing I used to. I
gotcha.
wasn't thinking about that so much, except the fact that I was always fated to have this one. I always had the same two guys, and these two guys, one was a lefty and one was a righty, and they both sliced, which meant that we did something the caddies called marching: left, right, left, right, left. We doubled the walk and still only got paid for the one round.
Love it. That's fantastic. Yeah. Well,
So,
good luck with your golf game.
oh yeah, well, we're gonna need it.
So we have a little bit of a different show up today. I think we've kind of touched on this in the past, depending on the guests that we've had. But Joe and I decided that we wanted to go a direction that I think is a little near and dear to both of us, and that is a very bad word in the barbershop world. And of course, we all know bad words. So of course, when I say the A word, we all know what I'm talking about: acting. And go ahead.
Yeah. I can see everyone home with that shocked look. Oh, okay. It's acting. Okay.
No, don't say it. Don't say it. But no, it's one of those things that always confused me growing up. And I guess I'll just go through this real quick and get it out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
When I was, I guess 13 or so, I started my like acting quote unquote career. I actually was a professional actor, but well, that's not important. It also not impressive. But it throughout all of that time, I was taking lessons and stuff. I was like, no, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. I took golf lessons for some reason, right? If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. So I was taking acting lessons, and I got some formal training and stuff. And it always struck me as odd throughout the barbershop life that I've had, all the chorus stuff and the quartet stuff, that none of that stuff was ever done. And they always talk about like, oh, we need to get in, in character. I always hear that and I kind of groan because I'm like, that you're not really doing that. But furthermore, it's like people always say it's like, oh, well, we don't want to act, we want to just do. And it's like, but that's what acting is. So Joe and I just wanted to get into that a little bit today because we both kind of have those things in the back of our head.
Well,
And I'm excited for what Mark has to add to it as well.
well, it's interesting because this is something that is kind of it's been up near the top of our consciousness in the performance, particularly performance category, which Mark has been looking to bring on new candidate judges with acting backgrounds and performance backgrounds like that, for the very reason that they have the training, which also allows for the understanding, which allows for the maybe a little deeper understanding than the kind of superficial way we've always looked at it in barbershop.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's the big one that was on me for the longest time is just we've been talking about trying to get to this more like emotional place. And we were talking about this a little bit ahead of time. Yeah. No judgment on any actors out there. I'm just not like a method acting kind of guy. I don't think it's a good idea. If you're trying to be in a good mood in a scene, if something bad happened to you, you're going to have a hard time getting back into it, and vice versa. If you're in a bad thing, why would you want to do that to yourself every day? I was about to tell this story before we started. Yeah. 2 Saturdays ago when we had our little retreat day, we went to a different place with one of our new songs, and I think I mentioned this last week or the week before, or whenever it was. It was after I finally had found that place. I looked back at my dad and I was like, I don't want to do that again. I would do it on stage for the sake of getting there, and I'll remember what happened when I did it so that I can repeat it without having to live it again. But that's rough, man. That takes a lot out of you.
Well, when it's a song like that, a song like "Go Rest High on That Mountain," it's a death song. It's a
pretty
funeral.
Much.
So and it's a song about loss. But it's a song about the healing that goes with it and everything else. But obviously, there's a piece of it. No matter how, there's no two ways around that there's some loss involved.
Sure.
Right. So how do you deal with it?
Mm-hmm.
And we've had people say to us, if you want us to access that kind of thing, I'm going to be a blubbering mass on the stage. I can't sing.
Correct.
Right. And we've also, I don't know how many coaches have said to you, I've heard it.
Sure.
In the past, when it comes to that kind of, trying to pull out that kind of emotion, you have to find where the line is.
Okay.
And don't cross the line.
And if you cross the line, better get back quick.
Right. And yet what we have been talking about more recently in performance is there is no line. It's not about a line.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about a line. It's about real. It's about getting there. Now,
Sure.
what you're talking about in terms of it, now there are people who are good at just going like immediately saying, okay, you're going to be angry. Okay, I'm angry now, and I understand, and I right away go to that spot. Um, but there are people who really have a problem, particularly. Hey, listen, guys who are coming out hobbyists once a week to sing in a chorus. Maybe they're good at this, maybe they're not. So how do you coax a really entertaining, connected performance out of those
Yeah,
guys?
and that's a really good point too. Is that I was having this conversation with my girlfriend the other day, who is also a bit of an actress, and
A real actor. I mean, you're not just okay.
no, she's a professional actress, man. She's
All
good.
right, okay. So
Um,
not just she's in love.
right. Well, she's dating me, so she's acting about something.
Well,
Um,
I was going to say drama queen, but I'm not going to go there.
no, no, no. She's great.
No, she's great. She's great. I
Uh,
love having her out in the audience at rehearsals.
oh yeah, and she has opinions. You two should talk.
Well, you haven't really talked to my wife much, who has no opinions either,
Gotcha. Great.
and she's got 50 years of this stuff
Oh
to
God.
deal with.
But so that's one of the big points that she and I have gotten to as well, is that I would love to teach a class on Stanislavski, on Meisner, on all the traditional formal blah blah, all that stuff. But of the guys who come in and say, "Oh, barbershop chorus, that sounds fun," which of them is going to be like, "Oh, I was here to sing barbershop. I don't need to get in touch with my inner child." It's not, it's a different thing. We've talked a long time in the barbershop world about the fact that we are a group of amateurs. If any of us are professionals, it's because it's a small part of it. But now we're trying to say, okay, here's some new stuff. And I think that's where it became a bad word, right?
Yeah.
Is that, oh, well, we're just singing barbershop here. We're not actors. We're singing barbershop. I think that's where it came from originally.
Well, and in fact, if all we ever did was get into little circles in the corner and ring tags
Yeah.
and do it for our own amazement and bemusement,
Hmm.
then that would be true.
Hmm.
But as soon as we go on stage and then ask people to pay money to see us,
Yeah.
it's a different ball game.
Right.
Now we have to actually, do a little bit more of connection,
Right.
performance,
Exactly.
all that good stuff, all the stuff that makes that makes it worthwhile for those people to come and see us. And most important from my standpoint
Mhm.
is to get more people interested in doing it.
Correct. So Mark, I want to bring you in real quick. So I have a question for you. And it's another thing that Maddie and I were talking about a bit. And that is somewhere in my head, and I don't remember what it is. Wow, I completely lost it. I was so enthralled by what you were saying, Joe.
I'm sure Mark had an incredible answer too.
I bet he did. Okay, I remember. Here's what it is. So one of the things that we talk about a lot with barbershop stuff is what we want the audience to get from it. And that is a brand new conversation for me specifically. And also for Matt, like we had this conversation in that we don't really think about the audience. The point is to put on your character and do your job and hope that the audience has some emotional reaction. So if I were to ask you where that importance level, how closely do we keep the audience to what our intentions are as opposed to hitting our quote unquote character and allowing that to speak for itself?
I think as a singer and an actor singer, you have to have some sort of deliberateness. I don't know if that's a word or not.
Deliberateness, sure.
With your approach to singing a song and maintaining that character so that the audience member understands what's going on and has an understanding and appreciation, maybe can see a little bit into you a little bit further than just the stand and sing. Now, does it have to be over literalized? Does it have to be over the top or clownish? Does it have to be you holding their hand through? I think sometimes we go a little too far.
Yep.
In the direction that we don't need to. But I just oftentimes want people to just let the audience know in some way that song means something to them, even if it's not just them, even if it's not just always just this character development, all this, but
Sure.
hey, you know what? This song is important to me as a person, and I'm expressing it in this way. And maybe if that's the new mindset, maybe if that's the way we need to help our performers approach it, rather than just saying, well, here's a script and you are this person now for 4 minutes. That's hard for people to grasp. It really is. People want fence posts.
Sure.
They want people like us and directors and other coaches to tell them where to be and what to do, because I think most barbershoppers who get a feel for really good barbershop and time on the stage, they are very willing to do that, but they are not as willing to say, I'm going to just self-explore this myself.
Yeah, the exploration thing is new.
That's the
toughest
people, thing, because they put the music down an hour after they get home. A lot of people do, and don't come back to it until sometime later. So that's a tough thing.
And yet, if you remember, Zach, 2 weekends ago when we had the weekend retreat, we challenged the guys to do some exploration, and they really seemed to enjoy it.
Yeah, that's one of the big things too that we brought up last night at rehearsal, in that you can't teach somebody to act, just like you can't teach someone to feel, right? Like you can't teach these things. It's all about guiding them toward discovery. Maybe I had a different acting coach, but that was my entire training was, hey, do this and do it like this. What did you feel? Be aware of it. What changed? What can you draw from this? I like to say that my acting coach was not really, she didn't really teach us how to act. She taught us how to live, and then we take those lessons and turn them into building a character.
Interesting. Didn't you do a commercial with LeBron?
Yes, I did do a commercial with LeBron James.
So which emotions were you accessing there? I'm just wondering.
Surprisingly enough, I think that one was typecast because the role was nerd. That's not a joke.
They didn't want you to stretch, huh?
No, but do you want to know? I'm dead serious. Do you want to know how my audition? I went into audition for something different, and
okay,
it was.
I mean, you said this guy would be perfect for the nerd.
Great. I went in and they said, here's what the audition is. They gave me a basketball and they said, I want you to dribble this basketball and look at the camera and pretend you're trash talking LeBron James. And like that was the entirety of the audition. They're just like, improv, just do it. And I'm like, all right, I can improv. Oh yeah. Oh, buddy, you better go take a nap because you're not gonna get this ball from me. And then I swear to God, I think the reason I got it was because at one point in time, I hate you. I went to dribble once more and it hit my toe and bounced over there.
Oh.
And I went and got it. And I came back and I was like, yeah, you didn't think I was going to do that, huh?
Brilliant.
Sure enough, like 3 days later, hey, you got booked for this. Oh, cool.
Joe, I think it's kind of a balance sometimes between if you had a gauge and on one side was empathy and the other side was sympathy, getting our folks to be somewhere in the middle of that, because we can't always be empathetic to everything, but we also have a very pretty good understanding of how people feel and we have care for them. So it's kind of somewhere in the middle of that. If you could capture it in a way to get everybody to understand that would be a nice medium for people.
I mean, I think that's right. I think there's another part also, Mark, where it's just about, also understanding what's going on, like who the character is, like who are we supposed to be? I mean, I'm seeing that a lot in a lot of the music that we're doing right now, Zach, is that, what helps power my performance, my own personal performance, is if I know where I'm coming from in the character, right? Is this a lounge singer, right? Is this someone who's got some defenses up? Is this someone, who is, trying to heal some kind of wounds or dealing with loss?
Right. Exactly.
Just understanding all that, and I guess because I have absolutely no training in this stuff, that's probably more of the Meisner end of things, I guess, where understanding that kind of then powers your behavior
to an extent. So quick acting lesson for those who care. Stanislavski, acting guy back in the day, his big thing was when you walk on stage, you're not you, you're a character, right?
Right.
He had a lot of students, and they all had their own methods. But Meisner's one that I stick to, which is the one that sticks closer to improv, which is there isn't a right answer to it all the time. Meisner's big thing was, if something changes, so do you.
Yeah.
One of the big things that they always talk about with Meisner stuff is the big exercise is repetition, in that you say the same thing over and over and over again, and you get yourself used to it, and then you change it. What's different now, right? So we did that. We did that a little bit that Saturday, right? When
We did that with Teresa.
right, she had Gary and I come down and shake hands in 3 different ways, and it changed every time. Why did it change?
Yes.
We still had the same command. The same command was go shake his hand. We just changed the circumstance. And I think that's a big thing to get into. One of the things that I got jealous of, I was watching a Vocal Spectrum video. They were on stage, I don't know where. They were singing something, I don't remember what. Like I think, I remember, it was the Aladdin medley. And at one point in time, they get to a point where I guess things kind of like die down a little bit. It might have been when they're leading into A Whole New World. I really don't remember. But some of the audience starts to cheer, and Johnny goes, no, we're not even halfway done yet. People start laughing. The guys on stage start laughing. That is golden. Something changed and they went with it. And the best part about it was they just had that comfort on stage to be able to just go back into it. That
Right.
is very Stanislavski. But the Meisner portion is, I'm going to do this thing now. Something changed. I'm going to change. And he just went with it, and everyone went with it and rolled, and it was beautiful. I would love to find that in the barbershop world more often.
Happens all the time in comedy because things always go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And it's how you react to when things go wrong.
Exactly.
Right? And react to when an audience recognizes that.
I think it was a Hot Air Buffoon story when they did their horse track medleys, or their horse track set.
Oh yeah, the jockey
Set, yes.
The hot air buffoons as jockeys.
Yes. Which
That's
in and of itself is an amazing concept.
high concept to start with.
But
yes.
there was the one they did a parody of What'll I Do? What'll I do when whatever? I don't remember the whole thing.
Yeah.
But the one of them was something about when you've been turned to glue.
Yes.
And before they sing that line, what they used to do is they would have a little cap gun and they would just pop it.
Shoot the horse.
Right.
Shoot the horse.
Exactly.
You shoot the imaginary horse.
But I guess it was I don't remember who told. I think it was Harry who told this story once. The one show they went to, they got there and realized, we forgot the cap gun. And so instead of freaking out and going and buying a cap gun or doing something different, at that point in time in the song, Harry just went, bang! And the audience loved it, and they got a bigger reaction than they ever got from the cap gun. And so from then on, they didn't use the cap gun anymore. That's the glory of being just that involved in it. Sometimes you learn things you wouldn't have gotten ahead of time.
I can tell you many stories, but my favorite one, I'll tell you this one, is I was singing with Reveille, and we were doing a Pirates package. And in the Pirates package, we had all these characters, and Roger was Smee, so he was a little officious guy, doing all the dirty work, and John Ward, who was the lead, was Captain Hook, and he had the hook on his hand and the eye patch and the whole thing.
I would certainly hope he had a hook if he was Captain Hook.
Captain Hook, well, and we talked about it, bye bye Blackbeard. Well, anyway, it was a little part of this stuff. Hat to scratch, eyes don't match, that kind of thing. And, making a joke with the hook. And then our bass Mark was in Long Johns with a parrot on his shoulder. So he was Long John Silver.
Great.
And I was Jean Lafitte, and I was kind of the effete French pirate.
Sure.
And there was a point. So we have all this stuff. And so we have all these props, a treasure chest, the parrot on the shoulder, which at one point Captain Hook has to hook, and then the bird ends up on the hook, kind of thing. And we said, what happened to the bird? Bye bye birdie. That whatever, the whole thing. Gives the judges the bird, and we throw the bird into the pit.
But, Joe, I gotta stop you real quick.
Yeah.
You're messed up, dude.
Yeah, right.
How do you do that?
so we had all this stuff, and Jean Lafitte, that privateer elite, and during that we would have a big sword fight, and I had this like fencing epi, a real fencing epi,
Yeah, sure.
and John would take out this long, real broadsword,
Oh God.
and he would hack away while I just kind of hold this thing out,
Sure. As a Frenchman would do.
Just kind
Sorry to
of
any of our viewers in France.
looking at my nails, and at some point just kind of run him through. Right.
Okay.
Well, on this particular show, everything went wrong.
Good.
Everything went wrong. So the parrot that we would have that was like Velcroed onto Mark's shoulder.
Yeah.
The Velcro on the parrot's tail came loose, so the parrot was kind of drooping and hanging for the whole performance. Roger had on a pair of these shorts, and he had just lost some weight, and he had also decided to use a very heavy spyglass, which was in his pocket, which caused his pants to start to fall down, which he didn't realize, but he had more of the Norge repairman kind of look going.
Okay.
Particularly for the contest administrators who were sitting over here.
Sure.
Who were getting to see that little piece of butt.
Good.
From Roger, and meanwhile his glasses, which he had on, had broken.
It's too bad it wasn't the CA. It's too bad it was the CAs and not a scoring judge, or else you might have got.
It wasn't the
points.
scoring judge. Well, the scoring judges come into play here in a minute because.
Oh God.
What then happened is that Mark, who again was a peg leg, had this big long crutch which he had made out of driftwood, and he pounded it on the stage, and it broke into about 4 pieces.
Great.
In the sword fight. While we're having the sword fight and John is hacking away, the sword explodes. My sword explodes into pieces.
Yeah.
One of which hit one of the judges.
Oh no.
Happened to be Barry Towner, who got hit with a shard from the.
Was he okay?
He was fine. It was
Okay.
fine, but he did get hit with this piece of
Thanks, Mark.
Now I'm left on stage with the remainder of the sword. Right, which is just the haft of the sword, just the handle. And pieces falling off. Now, if you listen to there was no audio, there was no video, but if you listen to the audio, you can hear this clunk, clunk, and then kabang, kaboom, kabang, and then clink, 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 as pieces are falling out of my hand.
Good Lord.
So I'm sitting there with this, having this comedy of errors. Everything has gone wrong.
Yes.
But the audience is laughing hysterically.
Right.
So I just kept taking beats. I just kept staring at my hand until the audience would stop laughing.
Right.
And it went on for about a minute.
Oh yeah, I've had those.
And I finally looked down at my hand and went, Les Miserables.
Oh, for God.
Like that.
You suck.
The audience thought it was all part of the act.
Right. That's the biggest point that I feel I come to when it comes to this conversation is that I'm not going to push Meisner because I feel like y'all don't need to know some guy's name who's not even alive anymore. But the real deal is, as long as you can find that character, nothing shakes you, right?
Right.
You're always going to go out there. You're always going to put on the performance, and it's going to be great. I want to semi-transition here.
Yeah, sure.
Mark, I want your opinion on something else here. So one of the things that...
Yeah, he hates me too. I understand.
No. That's just me. One of the things I want your opinion on is that one of the things that my girlfriend and I were talking about last night, in a lot of her training, there was a lot to do with like the energy. And I don't mean like the energy of you, but like the shared energy in the ensemble, right? One of the big exercises that she did, which is actually what I kind of parodized for what I did last night, was they would close their eyes and walk around the room, arms out, don't hit anything, right? And then at one point in time, the instructor would just say someone's name. They didn't really know each other that well yet, but they all got it. When they opened their eyes, they were pointing to the same person. Their eyes were closed as they were walking. I have no idea how that works, but I want to ask this question. In terms of a quartet, of course, you want to be in sync. In terms of the chorus, what can you say about, I don't want to say the validity, but what can you say about the impact it has when every member on the Risers is not only in sync with the director and with themselves and their character, but each other.
Well, I think if you have somebody who is like totally not engaged or not engaged with being a character, or just engaged with understanding the song or trying to be deliberate enough for the audience, it does stand out, and it can create, I hate to say it in kind of judge terminology here, but it's a distraction for us, or it's something that draws the attention of the recipient, to say, well, what's going on there? I don't think everybody, my opinion is that not everybody has to look like a carbon copy robot of each other.
I agree with that.
They need to have a common, the goal needs to be maybe a common thing. The overall, what just happened right before we started singing needs to be agreement there, but we all react in a similar manner to something that has happened, but our nuances of our reaction are not always the same. If people can still see that you are present, like Jeremy told us,
Yes.
if you are aware, there is some sort of self-awareness of going up. People can see that. People can see when we're self-aware. People can see when you're bored and, and checked out too. And that is what we need to try to encourage, is that self-awareness can occur in big moments, in the quietest of moments.
So then take me somewhere with this then. So given all that, what happens then when that guy when that chorus full of people who have really engaged in that stuff are now fully engaged with each other? Do you even notice a difference in that regard in when they say, not only do I know what's happening in my space and I'm portraying what I need to portray and I understand the message, but also I can feel the guys around me doing the same, and having that level of like connection to each other and not just themselves.
Well, I think that just propels the group and the individual to stay engaged all the way through the performance and engage with the audience and paint this picture. And, I've been in chorus before. When that energy you feed off of people, it just totally builds and creates a moment for you to stay involved at all times.
It becomes almost for me, it's almost an out-of-body experience. Those moments don't happen often, but when they do happen, boy, are they memorable, and you want to hold on to them forever if you can.
Fully agree. I fully agree. You know what the crazy thing is, Joe?
Yeah.
I think we hit a topic that you and I could ramble on about for a long time.
Yes.
Look at the time. I didn't even notice.
Wow. I mean, we have, and so we have.
I suppose we have. Folks, that's going to be a show for the night. Mark, thank you so much for joining us, buddy. I had a great time having you on. Do you have any final words for the audience?
I'm just glad to hear that you guys, the chapter is continuing to sing and get together. My chapter got back together Monday night after taking a month off, just due to a kind of a COVID spike.
And how was that?
It was great.
Yeah,
it was great. It was like
Mm-hmm.
you just didn't even miss a beat, and it's wonderful. So I'm just glad that people are out singing and keep having these discussions. This stuff, if anything, these streams like you guys do that were maybe born out of where we've been the last year and a half.
Yep.
They're just doing it, everything that we add like this is going to help everybody.
Well, and we have plans to keep going and expand this.
Yep.
We've got some exciting ideas, which we will, over the next couple of weeks, talk to you more about. But also, like, we can keep promoting what's going to happen on December 3rd.
That's right. December 3rd, we have a very, very special guest who will be joining us. On December 3rd, will be joining us Tom Shalhoub. He will be right here with us on stream. We'll talk about all things barbershop and out there performances and all that stuff. It'll be great.
And probably Terry Clark stories and some comedy stuff, and I'm sure.
Sure, I love it.
There are nothing but Terry Clark stories.
What else is there? And before we get too far into our closing, make sure if you have not subscribed to the Southern Gateway Chorus YouTube channel that you do so. Hit that notification bell so you see every time we go live. And of course, until next week, my name is Zach Holman.
And I'm Joe Hunter, and with Mark Kettner.
And I hope you all have a great week.
Bye-bye.